UFC 286 is in the books, and guess what? We have a welterweight division with a lot of contenders now. Kamaru Usman had reigned supreme for so long that when you have a solidified new champion, that changes everything for the division. Everything. And you have a lot of new contenders, and you also have had recent fights that put people in the mix that were not in the mix before. You also have contenders that the UFC wants to give title shots to, and you have contenders that they definitely do not want to give title shots to. And so I'm looking at a list right here of like 9 fighters that play directly into the UFC welterweight title contender picture. And we're going to go through them in this video, and I'm going to tell you the matchups that the UFC is likely to make across the board at welterweight, but not just which ones they're going to make. I'm going to tell you why. And not why in terms of here's what the fans want. I'm going to tell you why in terms of what the UFC is thinking, because the UFC has a very specific way of matchmaking, and that is why I have been so successful in predicting what fights they're going to make, is because I understand exactly how they make decisions. Now, before we get into it, if you watch my content, please subscribe to the channel. Let's just do it, man. I work really, you have any idea how hard I work on this channel? You have any idea the obstacles that I've overcome to get to where I am, and the obstacles I'm facing right now? All of them are solved if all of you guys who watch my content just click subscribe, like the video, comment your thoughts on the video, and share it with your friends. And please like it and please subscribe if you're going to watch my content. That is the agreement that we make, and we're handshaking. Thank you guys very much in advance. Okay, so Leon Edwards is officially the champion. No one is questioning that anymore. He beat Kamaru Usman twice. So Dana White has said that Colby Covington gets the next title shot, and he very, very clearly showcased Colby in a way to make that very simple. Now, Colby announced in his post-fight interview that he got a call on Tuesday to come out and make weight as the backup. Tuesday, which means it wasn't on the radar until then, which means the UFC almost certainly was not actually concerned about needing a backup. They wanted to announce Colby Covington as the next title contender no matter what. So that's what he's actually out there to do. And then as a super duper last minute backup in the event that something happened, but more than likely, given that Dana announced Colby as the title contender next against Leon, that's as equally what it's about. So right after Dana announced that, literally right afterwards, they interview Leon Edwards, and Leon Edwards says, "What are you talking about? I don't want Colby." He said that in the octagon. He also said that in his post-fight speech, right? I'm sorry. He said that in his post-fight speech in the octagon. He also said that in his press conference. He said the same thing twice, except in the press conference, he was very specific about why he doesn't want to fight Colby Covington. And if you watched it, then you already know. And if you didn't, I'll let you guess, okay? I'll give you some clues. I'll give you guys some clues as to why Leon Edwards does not want to fight Colby next. Now, he said Colby hasn't done anything to earn a title shot. Ridiculous. Ridiculous. Colby Covington has done everything to earn a title shot, and we're going to talk about that in relation to other fighters that are on this list that we're going to say matchups for later in the video. So Leon Edwards said, Colby Covington has not done anything to earn this title shot. He's been out forever. Why would he get a title shot? Simple, because he'll draw numbers, and because they're trying to set up a super fight down the line if things line up correctly. Leon, though, wants Masvidal, and he said straight up, I don't want Colby. I want Masvidal. Give me Masvidal. Now, why does he want Masvidal? Oh, I don't know. Probably because 4 years ago, when Leon was the small fry that no one knew, Masvidal punched him in the face 3 times in the UK right after a signature win from Leon Edwards. And so Leon, he's a fighter. You think he doesn't want to get that back just because he's not a guy who screams into the camera? He wants that back. He wants to beat Masvidal's face in and take his career from him, of course. And also, obviously, nobody drives better numbers than Masvidal except for Conor. And so if he is able to secure a title shot against Masvidal, that's big money. That said, if he can't get Masvidal, who is the second best option to drive numbers? It's Colby, 100%. So he's in a good space either way, right? He's in a great space either way. He is not going to get Masvidal unless Masvidal is able to beat Gilbert Burns at UFC 287. That's obviously a tall order, but if he's able to beat Gilbert Burns, then there is a chance that Leon will be able to talk his way into George Masvidal being his next fight. That, however, I believe is actually more of an uphill battle for Leon than he realizes, and I'll tell you exactly why. Why are they so dead set on Colby getting the next title shot? Ask yourself that. The same reason that I was able to predict that they were going to cancel Masvidal against Leon when Colby did not win the second fight against Kamaru Usman. The UFC can make fights all day long, okay? They can make the headliner Volkanovski against Korean Zombie. They can do this guy against this guy. They can even do big fights like John Jones against whoever, and they know pretty well how well it's going to perform. There are certain fights that are magnitude infinity if they are able to put them on the docket. The thing is, the UFC does not fix fights, and they will not give people title shots unless there is some narrative that they could say they earned it for, okay? If they can make Masvidal against Colby for a title shot, that will be a level of magnitude that is hard to fathom. And what it was before, you would think that after Colby dominated Masvidal as much as he did, that fight would kind of be like, well, whatever, even if it's for a title shot, we all know Colby's gonna win. Yeah, well, since then, Masvidal punched Colby in the face outside of a steakhouse and is now facing 15 years in prison for that incident. If you think the UFC, as professional fight promoters, is not targeting a Colby versus Masvidal for the title fight, you're out of your mind. Out of your mind. And in the event that Masvidal does beat Gilbert Burns, then Leon Edwards is going to ask for the Masvidal fight, and I'm telling you, he still has an uphill battle because they're going to want to make the Masvidal versus Colby fight, right? So, nonetheless, he's probably fighting Colby. So let's move on, okay? Let's just do the Masvidal. So if Masvidal wins, he's either going to fight Leon for the title, or he's going to fight Colby or Leon for the title. If whoever wins. If Masvidal wins, which it sounds crazy because he's lost 3 in a row, if Masvidal wins, he is almost certainly going to fight for the title next, which is crazy given the welterweight division. But that's only if he wins really impressive. If he wins like a close decision, no way. If he starches Burns, he will almost certainly get a title shot, my opinion. Now, moving right along, let's move to one of the most interesting ones to look at, which is Kamaru Usman. What do you do with Kamaru Usman? He's the title holder forever. And if you watched last night, it's not like he looked like he slowed down. Leon Edwards looked like he fought a perfect game plan, which is Leon was faster. Where are Leon's strengths against Usman? He has crisper striking, he's faster, and he has good footwork. Where Usman was able to beat Leon last time was he was able to take the fight to the ground and grind him out. All Leon had to do to nullify Usman's advantage is just not get taken down. And that's all he did in this fight that he didn't do in the previous fight, right? Now, he ended up winning the previous fight, but Usman was on his way to a decision victory until he got kicked in the face. So, bottom line is, where the fight happened, Leon was better than Usman the first time. And so all that happened is Leon improved his takedown defense, and the reason I bring that up is because it doesn't mean that Usman is any less good than he was the last time. Usman is, as far as I can tell, just as good as he was a year ago. And so who he fights is a nightmare for the person who ends up getting matched up against him. And so, the way I'm going to answer who Usman fights is I'm going to answer who Belal Muhammad is going to fight. Because in case you can't tell, the UFC definitely does not want to give a title shot to Belal Muhammad. This is not his fault, okay? This is not his fault. The bottom line is this: the UFC does not like giving title shots to people who are not marketable. That's exactly where Leon was. And look at Leon now. So is this the end of the world for Belal Muhammad? Of course not. But he's going to have a harder road to the title. Masvidal has lost 3 in a row. And if he gets one signature win against Gilbert Burns in impressive fashion, he's going to get a title shot. What is the difference between him and Belal? Simple. Why does Colby get to sit out and then he gets a title shot? Simple. Because they've made spectacles of themselves and they've got a built-in audience that they can draw. Belal Muhammad, he's a good guy. He's a good-looking guy. He's a great fighter, fantastic fighter. He can't draw yet. That might change. That could absolutely change. If he gets a signature win over a signature guy who has a big following, says something impressive into the microphone, he gets that whole part of the world on his side. Belal Muhammad could be a really big star because he could get that whole part of the world, the Khabib side of the world, and then he could also get the domestic side of the world on his side because he's a clean-cut, well-spoken guy. There's no reason why he couldn't be a huge star. He's just not yet. And so as a guy who's not yet, the UFC is not going to give him favorable matchups at this point to get him to a title shot because they have too many other better options for right now. They can't read the future. They can't decide, oh, this guy's going to be a huge star if that or the other, unless they look like Sean O'Malley, right? Or they start doing a shtick like Colby. So Belal, in my opinion, is going to get matched up with one of 2 guys. He's going to get matched up with Usman, or he's going to get matched up with Shavkat Rakhmonov. And I think that is kind of rough go for him, obviously. Usman's a terrible matchup for everyone. Shavkat is a really rough matchup for everyone. That said, if I look at the top 7 guys, in all seriousness, I think Belal's the worst matchup for Shavkat. I really do. I looked at this, and I'll tell you exactly why. In his fight against Geoff Neal, right? I watched that fight, and everyone was like, wow, incredible. I even saw the Weasel do a video where he was like the incredible performance of Shavkat Kamaru. Dude, if you guys watched my live stream watching Shavkat, what was I saying? What did I say the whole time? I'm like, this guy's gonna get starched. He's gonna get starched. He strikes with his head up like this, literally. I mean, his head position when he strikes is awful. It's not that good. It's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. Now, luckily, everything else about his game is fantastic. He has fantastic grappling. He's got great striking. But my good, the guy is literally, if you were going to draw a person who is set up well to get starched by a hook, that is exactly what they would look like. I mean, his head is dead center with his chin up all the time. He's gonna get hit with a hook that he doesn't see coming. And so if you look at this division right here, who are the guys that are most likely to be able to potentially defend, take down, and have a big hook they could potentially knock him out with? Belal, Burns. Those are the two guys. Those are the worst matchups for him, in my opinion. Now, Kamaru obviously is a tough matchup for everybody. But his chin is all that saved him against Neal. He would have gotten starched if he didn't have such a granite chin. Now, is that something you can fix? Sure, but what reason has he had to fix it? And so he is exposed there. But if you're looking at, who's the dark horse nightmare matchup, it's Shavkat Rakhmonov. And so who are they going to give to him? They're going to give it to the guy that they don't want to get a title shot, which is Belal Muhammad now, right? So I think that Kamaru Usman is most likely to fight Belal Muhammad, or if not, they might do Usman against Shavkat, maybe. Just to see, it depends on what they want to do with Usman. If they want to try to get him back in the mix so that they can make, future good fights with him, I don't know why he would take that fight, because it is the roughest matchup, and, Shavkat's down in the rankings. I actually don't think they'll do that fight, because why would Usman take that fight? But if the UFC has clear, a clear reign to do whatever they want, maybe they would do that. But I think Usman is likely to get Belal. I think it's going to be Belal and Usman. I know they're on the same team with Ali, but I think that that's the fight they're going to try to make. And they'll tell Belal, like, look, dude, if you beat Usman, you will get a title shot afterwards. And I think he'll take it. I'm not going to get into predictions of who I think will win, but that is what it is. Now, Burns is in an interesting position too. If Burns wins, he could potentially fight Belal also, or could potentially get a title shot, right? So Burns with a win could either get saddled with Belal, or could be fighting the winner of Leon versus Colby, right? And when you look at the rest of the division, that basically, that locks up everyone, all the main guys, right? And then so when you go the layer below these guys, you still have some really interesting matchups, like, who is Wonderboy going to fight? I think Wonderboy, they're going to do against either Sean Brady, because I think they want Sean Brady in the mix. Sean Brady is a very promising prospect. He got his ass kicked by Belal, but he's a guy that they want to put back on the horse. Who's the most favorable matchup with a big name that they can get for him in the division? That's Wonderboy. I think they're going to do Sean Brady against Wonderboy. If not, maybe they do Michael Chiesa or Jack Della Magdalena. And Magdalena, I think, is going to get either Wonderboy, Geoff Neal, or Vincent Luque. And then the only other person that's in the mix is Michael Chiesa, and he could end up against Magdalena. He could end up against Wonderboy. Could end up against Luque. But anyway, that's not a super high concern. But that is what I think that we're looking at in terms of the matchups at welterweight, and I am excited to see all of them. Let's do this thing. Thank you guys again. Subscribe to the channel and ring the bell. Peace.